The X-Men. I'm not sure if they're as iconic as Spider-Man or Superman, but they are really popular. To date, they've been in 5 feature-length films, they've been in 5 animated TV shows, they've been in numerous other Marvel-related animated shows, and they've been featured in 38 or so video games, depending on how you count their portable counterparts. My master plan is to review them all, but where to start? I could start at the beginning, but I feel like that's already been done. The first game was released in 1989, and the most recent game was released in 2011. So how about we split the difference and take a look at X-Men video gaming circa 2000. X-Men Mutant Wars for the Game Boy Color, but the only real way to play this is on the Game Boy Advanced SP AGS 101. X-Men Mutant Wars was released in the year 2000, which coincided with the movie's release.
There is a war coming. You sure you're on the right side?
The game is a typical side-scroller where you start out playing as Wolverine, but eventually you'll play as Cyclops, Storm, Gambit, and Iceman as well. Like most side-scrolling Game Boy games, this one just feels slow. These developers needed to take a page from Super Mario Land 2. You start the game as Wolverine and are in the middle of the woods looking for Magneto's cyborgs, or something. There are green enemies attacking you on the ground, and in the air are these blue flying things that crap on you, I guess. You can replenish your life by collecting hearts from people you've presumably killed. However, it seems every time I go for one of these hearts I get hit by a blue crapping guy. In the course of playing, I quickly figure out that pressing up along with an attack causes Wolverine to perform a crazy uppercut. After a while, you get to the end of a level, but nothing happens. At the top it says Sabretooth, so I assume that he would be waiting for me, but no. You have to go all the way to the end of the screen. Now you get the Sabretooth battle. Here's something interesting, though. If during the course of the game Wolverine runs out of life, Cyclops enters the game. If Cyclops runs out of life in the game, then Storm comes up, and so on and so on. However, no matter who you enter the Sabretooth battle, it's always Wolverine that comes out to have the chat with Sabretooth. I'm not sure how this is possible, since Wolverine was clearly incapacitated as indicated by his fading body flying off the screen. As a matter of fact, it's this way with all of the boss battles. In fact, no matter if you run out of lives and the game ends, it's Wolverine who is shown at the game over screen. Anyway, once the fight starts, whoever you entered it with is now there to fight. But once the fight is over, Wolverine is back to try to get some information out of Sabretooth. While we're on the topic of the other X-Men, let's go over their abilities. Basically, aside from Wolverine and Gambit, they all suck. For one thing, everyone's attacks, except for Wolverine, are power-based. This little XP bar, which you might assume stands for experience points, it doesn't. It's your mutant power meter. Once the power meter is depleted, you can no longer use your powers. This really sucks when the character you're playing with is being swarmed and the only attack you have is power-based and you run out of power. As far as powers go, Cyclops has his optic blast, which is fine for the people on the ground, but for the people in the air, he either has to jump and shoot or shoot at a 45-degree angle. Since the hit detection is so particular, you practically always miss when you jump and shoot. Storm's powers works pretty much the same, except that she shoots little tornadoes. Since the tornadoes are wider than the optic beams, jumping and shooting is much more effective. Gambit's powers also work the same. He shoots psionically charged playing cards. I'm not sure why, but it seems like his attack does more damage than Cyclops or Storm. Last up is Iceman, and guess what? His powers work the same as Cyclops, Storm, and Gambit, and have the effectiveness of Cyclops' power. So there you have it. A slow, clunky game which features one melee-based attacker and a bunch of mutants who run out of power and are defenseless. So now I've defeated Sabretooth, which I would assume ends the level. After closer inspection, I figure out that there are little indents on the path, and that if you press down, you'll be taken to another part of the stage. Once you take the path and enter a new portion of the stage, you can walk to the right and you will find something. When I first figured out that there were additional paths in each level, I assumed that I would need to collect all of the items in order to unlock the exit. It turns out that all you need is the key that looks like a heart. And sometimes you can get this from one of the miscellaneous green guys. Once you get the key, you can head back to where you defeated Sabretooth and walk out of the level. Intuitive, no? Once again, no matter what character you end the level with, Wolverine comes out to interrogate Sabretooth.
This all sounds pretty terrible, right? But actually, with a little trial and error, you find out that Wolverine has some not-so-obvious moves.
First of all, if you double tap a direction, he can run. This actually works on all of the X-Men, so this is now no longer a slow side-scroller. Look at Cyclops run. If you combine an attack with the run, the enemy will fall down and you can run through him. Or if you add another attack quickly after the first, you'll take them out. I do this a lot since there really doesn't seem to be a point in constantly killing these guys unless you need hearts. Unfortunately, if you jump while running, you land and continue walking. Secondly, Wolverine and the rest of the X-Men can double jump by pressing A twice.
I don't have much to say about that other than I really like double jumping.
Also, Wolverine can do this front flip by pressing diagonal up and A. If you get really good, you can do a back flip too.
I'm not sure what these flips are for, but all I know is that Wolverine can do them and nobody else can.
Finally, Wolverine has this great jump kick move. Just jump in the air by pressing A, and if you're facing the enemy, press B. If there are more than one enemy on the screen, keep pressing B. You can also change directions while in the air and continue kicking bad guys. You can pretty much clear the screen of all bad guys and these crapping blue guys while collecting a bunch of hearts. Also, the bad guys only hurt you when they attack. In other words, you can run into an enemy and not take any damage unless they attack. Imagine that.
The other X-Men don't have a flip or a jump kick. In level 2, there's some mud that Iceman and Storm can glide over, but other than that, the X-Men don't really have any special abilities other than Wolverine. I feel like this is a Wolverine game that Avett just slapped the rest of the X-Men in order to cash in on the release of the movie. Either that or it should have just been a Wolverine game.
At the end of the level, Professor X will give you your next mission, or Wolverine will talk with one of the team members about their next move, and you will be given a breakdown of points and a continuation password.
First of all, points? Who cares? Save the high scores for Pac-Man. This game is literally about getting to the right side of the screen. And secondly, a password? Come on, Activision, spring for a stupid backup battery.
The game mechanics don't change level to level. There are a few variant bad guys, but each level is just a different colored version of the first. Once level 1 is cleared, Professor X directs them to a graveyard. As I mentioned before, there is mud that will slow some of the X-Men down. The boss of this level is Warax.
Warax. I don't see him here at all.
Warax is invulnerable until he throws his scythe at you. Then you can blast him away. Once Warax has been defeated, Iceman will tell Wolverine that he saw someone blue go into the caverns. Welcome to level 3. In the caverns, you jump onto ladders in order to access other parts of the level, instead of pushing down like before. There are also holes you can fall into. Unlike every other game ever, rather than falling into the hole and dying, you just bounce out and take a little damage.
I don't get it. Were there technical limitations, or were they like, you know what I hate about games? Falling into a hole and dying. But at least they could have made some lava, or acidy garbage water, or spikes, or something that would hurt when landed upon.
Anyway, at the end of this level, you get to fight the Spectre.
Nope. No Spectre either.
Spectre is big and punches. You should be able to take him out pretty easily. At the end of level 3, Iceman tells Wolverine that the blue thing that they just fought was not the blue person he saw. So, they go off to level 4, the underground fortress. Not much to note here. In addition to holes and ladders, there are now little sewer pipes you can jump onto. At the end of level 4, you get to fight Shadow.
Mesmero, Magneto, Juggernaut. No Shadow.
Shadow is actually pretty tough. When he's on the ground, he shoots bullets, but when he's in the air, he either does a corkscrew attack or shoots missiles that chase you. Hopefully you've entered the battle with a full complement of X-Men, because you'll need that. Once you've defeated Shadow, Storm informs you that Magneto has escaped and that the Professor has summoned you back to the mansion.
What about this blue person we were chasing?
Back at the mansion, the Professor deploys you to New York City in order to defeat more of Magneto's cyborgs.
This level is kind of dull, but at the end, you get to fight this guy.
The Sentinel has a pattern of sorts, but I can't figure out the timing, so I suggest you just shoot his head with everything and everyone you have.
One thing I haven't mentioned yet is that at the end of the level, any X-Man or X-Men that ran out of life in the previous level returns for the next level, so things like strategy aren't really necessary.
So now Cyclops comes out and informs Wolverine that the cyborgs were loading the Sentinel onto the train. What to do? Hop the train. Two interesting things about this level. First, the motion effect in the background is pretty cool. Second, the bouncing gargoyle guys. Not quite as cool as the background, but they do give you a chance to practice your jumping kick move. At the end of this level, Cyclops and Storm meet up and wonder how there can be two Wolverines. Of course, we know that it's Mystique and most likely the blue person that Iceman saw back in levels 3 and 4. It's a twofer though. As soon as you take down Mystique, Sabretooth jumps out. At this point, you should be able to take him out pretty quickly. The X-Men are now off to Washington, D.C. because it has been discovered that the blue person Iceman has been seeing is Mystique, and she has been impersonating a U.S. agent. So of course you go to the White House, because all U.S. agents work at the White House. So now you're in the White House and there are all these invincible guys shooting at you with guns.
If the Secret Service wasn't invincible, I would criticize Wolverine and the X-Men for their vicious attack on the White House. I mean, here's a bunch of costumed clowns led by a man with razor hands. I mean, won't somebody please think of the president?
Oh my god, Magneto has killed the president! Maybe. We don't know. I guess his actions are his own. Well, it's off to the front lawn and you're like, what? The game's over already? But no, it turns out that Magneto has been on the hunt for Apocalypse, who's been putting together androids for his new horsemen. Also, I have to admit, the first time I fought him, I got my hat handed to me. The trick seems to be to hit him just before he hits you. And if he uses his Magneto powers, you have to jump. Apparently standing on the ground is what hurts you when he uses his powers. Once you hit him, just keep shooting. Eventually you'll catch him off guard. Once defeated, Magneto reveals the plot. Apparently Apocalypse hired Mystique to steal robot parts from Magneto in order to build Warax, Spectre, and Shadow, the new Horsemen of Apocalypse. On the way to Apocalypse's base, Professor X gives the team some more valuable information. Great. Thanks. The base is the same as the rest of the game. Go right, fall, head in the door, fall, get the key, fall, jump, fall, kill, fall, get the heart, fall, get to the boss. So you get to the boss and it's actually the base, I guess. And you're like, what do I do here? It seems like there's a pattern, but as soon as you try to learn it, you just get shot and fall, and fall, and fall, and then die. It seems like one of the gun flashed when I hit it, but no HP is taken off the base. I mean, watch Gambit here. No damage. The first time I played this level, I don't think I did a bit of damage. The second time, it takes like 3 shots from Cyclops, but when I try to leave the level, no key. So now I have to go back through the level to try and find it, while the whole time worrying about dying since I don't want to have to luck my way through the base boss again. I'm not sure where this last level is. It kind of looks like some industrial back alley with guys in windows throwing grenades at you. It's kind of like RoboCop for the Commodore 64. Well, I'm here to tell you. Apocalypse is hard. His attacks are shooting projectiles in the air and then letting them crash to the ground wherever you are while disappearing. If you don't move, you just get pummeled. When you lose, you have to go back to the beginning of the level. Here's my second attempt to defeat Apocalypse. My third attempt, I get so close.
No!
On my fourth attempt, I beat Apocalypse, but I didn't get the level key. All I had left was Iceman with a tiny bit of life. The funny thing is, I got the key from an enemy right outside the boss area, and then was killed.
No!
Okay, fifth attempt. The key is to dodge Apocalypse's 4 shots into the air and then immediately shoot him when he appears on the ground. After he's hit here, he will generally appear floating above you and will shoot in a circular pattern. If you can avoid these shots, you should be able to peel off a shot as he falls to the ground. Rinse and repeat this, and you will eventually beat Apocalypse. Or an Apocalypse cyborg. So, you blow up the fortress, the professor tells a bad joke, and then in comes Apocalypse to tell us that his clone turned against him and hired Mystique and Sabretooth to further his own pursuits. While Apocalypse is happy about the clone being destroyed, he's very cross about his fortress being destroyed.
The biggest problem with this game are the level designs. Playing as Wolverine is actually pretty fun once you learn all of his moves, but the levels offer nothing in the way of variety. You go right, you find the door or the ladder, you get the key, you kill the boss, and then you move on. The gems and the stars that you find throughout the game offer nothing to the actual gameplay. They only add to your score, and in a game like this, who cares about high scores? Save that for pinball. Also, in addition to the story mode that we went through on this cartridge, there's something called Fight Mode. And in Fight Mode, you get to fight all of the bosses, except when an X-Man is knocked out, they don't come back. It's as if they knew that their game was too short and had no replay value, so they decided to throw in Fight Mode. Anyways, I give this a solid, mediocre 5 out of 10. If you like this video, please comment down below and let me know what game you'd like to see next.